In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern. We do have plenty of storms happening around the nation, as we've kind of mentioned the past couple of days. We do have above average precipitation now kind of moving into the east. So some more activity than what we have been seeing, where things have actually been very, very quiet. We have a couple of tropical concerns that we're going to be going over as we are kind of reaching the height of the hurricane season. And now potentially 3 upcoming major cooldowns in the eastern half of the nation. So that very unseasonable, unlike anything I've really ever seen this time of year pattern is going to continue, it looks like. Before we dive into all of that, be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the top right corner of your screen, description, and the pinned comment down below. And if you are going to purchase it, be sure to use discount code DIRECT for 99 cents on your first month. It's only 99 cents. For $1, you can try it out today. So many of you have been so happy with that service, where we do early access to all of these videos on screen here, among other awesome features that are on the way very, very soon. Features that I have never seen in any other weather community. You guys are absolutely love it. If you like anything to do with the weather, it's going to be highly educational, very fun, and very, very informative. So be sure to check it out today. Let's go ahead and dive into things. And as we just take a look here, I want to take us towards this evening today, and what we see is that there is some mixed precipitation happening across the northern Rockies, rain showers and maybe even thunderstorms to the east of it here in the Canadian plains and some of those plains in eastern Montana. We do see that there is still a little bit of monsoon activity hanging on for Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona as well down there. And then along the Gulf Coast, where we do expect a lot of activity throughout this model run, we do see a lot of thunderstorms and overall tropical downpours persisting throughout a lot of these areas. On top of that, we do have showers and thunderstorms kind of sporadically located throughout the Midwest, Great Lakes, into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast here. Now, what we're going to do is actually just move this on. I want to take us towards tomorrow afternoon on Thursday, August 29th. What we're seeing here is a bit of low pressure. It's not too intense there, but we do have a strong cold front happening to the east and south of that low. So expect potential strong thunderstorms here for the plains, upper Midwest as well. Kind of the further north you go, the worse things are. And I would say the northern plains here into the upper Midwest is a very, very hot spot for severe weather this time of year, the late summer, early fall time frame. So definitely going to be on high alert for these areas tomorrow. We do see that, again, the tropical influence is definitely there for the south central and Gulf states, even up the southeast a little bit here, where we do see quite a bit of thunderstorm and tropical downpour activity happening. Showers and thunderstorms could be a possibility throughout the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic as well. Now, let's take it further. I want to take us straight towards Friday here on August 30th. We see this low is getting a lot stronger, 987 over the southern Hudson Bay there. And what we see is a very strong, very defined cold front here, stretching even further now. I would say that the main area to watch for severe weather would be for eastern Canada into areas of the Great Lakes, but there is that threat persisting down here as well to the south for areas of the southern plains, kind of the Midwest, into the Gulf states as well. Lots and lots of activity there. We do see that a lot of your tropical influence is now over the southeast, where we have this kind of northerly flow happening, and this occurs oftentimes out ahead of cold fronts, so this is very, very common, and we should see the cold front impact these areas as well. Keep in mind, things are drastically cooling for a lot of these areas in the northern plains, upper Midwest, and south central Canada by this point. Now, as we reach towards Saturday on August 31st, so the final day of August here, we see this low is now over the eastern Hudson Bay. This cold front still very well defined, and we see a lot of activity. So again, thunderstorms and heavy showers should be very frequent along this entire cold front. So from Texas, Oklahoma, straight through the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast as well. Again, cooler temperatures really taking over now for everywhere behind that cold front. Still quite warm probably throughout most of the day on Saturday for a lot of the Southeast, as that cold front has not hit yet for many of these areas. And then by Sunday here on September 1st, we finally reach into that very cool early fall-like pattern. How fitting, the first day of meteorological fall. We're seeing cooler temperatures really move into the east here. And if we were to take the jet stream like this, you kind of get something here. So a lot of cooler air for the northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes, and even the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic here. Still, we have a little bit of a stationary front wanting to set up here where this warmth is trying to make a push from the south. So we're seeing something like this really being the influence, and then this cooler air is kind of meeting it. So that's how we get stationary fronts. It's all kind of squeezed in there between these two very opposite air masses. And oftentimes when we see this push, you can imagine that the storms are actually going to move along that line like this. When it becomes stationary and squeezed, they kind of move along your line from west to east. So that is likely what we're going to be seeing here. And this will bring with it a flooding risk as you see frequent storms over and over and over again with no real end. That can lead towards a lot of problems in the way of flooding. Now, again, we could be watching for some tropical systems trying to develop in here nearby the United States from all of this moisture. So we're going to be watching for that as well throughout this model run. By Monday on September 2nd, we're really left with a drier, cooler pattern. Eventually, the cold wins out, and we see that stationary front is really located much further south here. Something like this in the way of the cold. A lot of it reaching to the south central states, a lot of it reaching further into the southeast. Still pretty stormy. I would say the stationary front is somewhere there near the Gulf Coast, but clearly the cold is actually winning out in this case. The coldest area is going to be up here along the Great Lakes, interior northeast, and eastern Canada, by the way. But again, stronger thunderstorms could be present throughout the south central and southeast. Shower or two could be possible along the Rockies here and the Cascades as well, but really, really quiet, as it oftentimes is for the west here. Much warmer as well. As we reach towards Tuesday on September 3rd, it's really, really similar to September 2nd. So whatever I just said for September 2nd, expect it to be about the same for September 3rd. Don't even have to really talk about it too much. September 4th is finally when we see this cold letting up a little bit. So we see the warmth kind of pushing back here over the east. And a lot more neutral here for the west, where temperature should be near normal by this point, not as far above average. So that's kind of what we're seeing. We do see some tropical threats persisting in the Gulf, off the southeast as well. A lot of moisture in there. Could see something developing in here, in my opinion. Definitely would not be shocked. Let's take this towards Thursday on September 5th, and something interesting is happening. We have another strong low, and we have another strong cold front here. Again, severe weather would be a big threat for the upper Midwest and plains here, so be on the lookout for that. But very, very cool air moving in behind this. So something like this is really the look. Definitely watching this very closely. Warmth is pushing quickly from the south over the east here, but that cold front will be arriving, so that is going to put an end to that. Friday on the 6th of September here looks very intense. Weaker low over south central Canada, but this cold front is definitely not weak. And we are seeing a significant amount of cool air moving into the east here. Much, much more significant than either of the cooldowns that we've seen so far. So this would definitely be the winner of those. We see strong thunderstorms from the Central Plains through portions of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes, as well as portions of Canada up here. So all these areas need to be on the lookout. Meanwhile, the kind of tropical threat is persisting. We see some lower pressure over the western Gulf, also off the southeast here, over top of this moisture. But really, when you see this much moisture over these areas, anything can really happen. But those are the two areas this model is looking at right now. That's the European model. Let's move into the GFS model. I want to make sure nothing's really different here, and it really isn't for the most part from what I could tell so far. Yeah. The only thing I'd say is we get a tropical low developing here off the mid-Atlantic coast. So a tropical cyclone does develop here well offshore. So let's see what happens with that. And it does curve back towards New England. So definitely that would be a very, very interesting thing to happen. We see a 997 here right near Cape Cod. This would be very impactful for the Northeast and New England in general. And then it strikes somewhere between New England and Canada there. Very, very impactful. Meanwhile, we're kind of left with this type of a pattern. So again, cooler in the east, like that European model. Not quite as intense here on this American model, but still there is cooler air over the east and a warm push over the west here. Now, we do have a lot of tropical moisture still sitting over the Gulf, over the southeast. This is going to be something to watch closely here after this point. Now, we do get kind of what looks to be the beginning of a tropical cyclone wanting to develop off the east coast again. Doesn't really take flight there, though. That doesn't develop too much, so really we end up with an underwhelming storm there, thankfully. More moisture still over the Gulf, something that we're going to be watching, and it's still quite cool by this point, the 8th into the 9th. Let's move towards the 10th. Very quiet here, but we have this really strong indication of a positive PNA right here along the west. That stands for Pacific North American Oscillation. All it really means is warm temperatures over the west. This is really aiding in this massive cooldown that looks to be coming here by this 10th time frame. So we're seeing this frequent positive PNA look, which is definitely something that would be impactful. I think we have a lot of tropical moisture there in the southern Gulf as well by this point. So look at that, tons. So that could really lead to some problems. And as we reach towards Wednesday, we see that this pattern gets even more extreme as we have this massive cooldown over the east, especially over Canada, where some snowfall is happening over eastern Canada. Definitely a very interesting look there with a strong low over the Hudson Bay. Are you picking up on the trend here? We keep getting these strong Hudson Bay lows with cold fronts, and that seems to be the driving force here. We actually do get tropical development here as well off the east coast of Mexico around the 12th time frame here. It begins to develop. We have a really cool pattern in the east, and then we reach the end of the model run, and we have a weaker low here, likely somewhere between tropical depression and tropical storm status. Would be interesting to watch closely, although this is very far out, so take it with a grain of salt for sure. I think the biggest takeaway is that this model has multiple tropical cyclones developing over the next 15 days, even just nearby the United States, not even just talking about out in the ocean. So very interesting there. Let's take a look here at the European AI model. We do see that there is a lot of moisture near the United States on this model as well, and a lot of moisture out in the MDR, main development region is what that's short for, between Africa and the Caribbean. I'll kind of show you here. Right here, this is a really main area to watch, as these tropical cyclones oftentimes originate from here, but we do see a lot of action off the southeast and off the Gulf Coast as well, just like the GFS model showed. So as we continue this on, I'd say the two main ones to watch is we do get this kind of storm way out to sea, but it does want to develop here. The National Hurricane Center has indicated this one also. And then we also have a strong low there off of New England and off of Canada, which is something that we've seen on other models here as well. So definitely paying attention to that very closely. We do get this kind of Gulf development that the GFS model showed here off of Mexico moving northward. So that's definitely something to watch for, especially Texas, Louisiana area there. And we do see it strike Louisiana. This is the end of that model run, and we have plenty of moisture to work with, and we had probably 2 or 3 tropical systems develop on this run. So the early September timeframe looks action-packed, not only with the stormy weather over the eastern states, the cold weather of the eastern states, but also just this tropical activity looks to be going nuts. Now, the GFS model's total precipitation, what we see is overall maybe an above average amount. I would say mostly over this pocket here, with mostly below average everywhere else, but it is increasing in the amount of above average precipitation and the total area it's covering. And look at all this precipitation in here over the Gulf. Absolutely crazy. And off the southeast, tons of rainfall. Here is that precipitation anomaly from your GFS ensemble model, and definitely this area is the main area to watch for that surge of activity. The East Coast looks a little bit quieter than those areas, but it is still more active than it was, whereas we see things slowing down here overall for the Rockies, Northern Plains, Upper Midwest, and Great Lakes. Now, as we take a look at the temperature pattern here, we see cooldown number 1 move in again around that 1st of September timeframe. This is into the 2nd of September. Here's the 3rd of September. And then we finally see that warmth trying to make a push by time we're reaching like the 5th, 6th. But look, the east just stays cold. And we get our second cooldown here around the 7th, 8th, 9th. And this one looks even more significant. But here's that major one coming in for the 10th and beyond time frame. So again, 3 major cooldowns here in the east. And if we were to look at the 10-day temperature anomalies, so this is day 6 through, and even if I moved it back a little bit, it would probably look colder. Yeah. If we were to look at the 1st through the 11th, this is the look, and then here is the 3rd through the 13th. So overall cooler across a lot of the east overall, and I'm sure a lot of you Texas people will be happy with this. A little bit cooler, or at least neutral for these areas, so not quite as hot as things have been. So definitely a colder look in the east, much warmer look out west, and this would be an interesting start to September, kind of along the lines of what we've been calling for. The long-range temperature anomalies look such as this. This is the September 1st through 6th time frame. Here's the 6th through the 11th. Here's the 11th through the 16th. Here's the 16th through the 21st. Still cold in the east. Here's the 21st through the 26th, still cold in the east. 26th through the 1st of October, still cold in the east. Here is the October 1st through 6th time frame, a little less cold in the east, but still cold in the east. And then the 6th through the 11th, what do you think it's going to be? Still cold in the east. So absolutely crazy look for the next 45 days here on these long-range models. Could be a very, very cold fall compared to normal. Unlike anything we've really seen for, like, I would say the past 10 years at least. So absolutely insane to see this. Now here's the past 10 days of temperature anomalies. We can see that over the past 10 days, we have had cooler temperatures over a lot of the east and the west as well, actually, which is an interesting and pretty rare pattern, with mostly warmer over the central states. So a lot of you from Texas and the rest of the southern plains, this is that heat you've been talking about. It's really coming because we have this cold over the west and the east. You guys are just kind of sandwiched in between. We don't expect this pattern to persist, though. Into September, we expect something much different, so I can give you that relieving news. Here's the past 30 days, so the entirety of August almost, and again, you guys are just the hot spot. Mostly cooler for the west, and mostly cooler for a lot of the north, central, and eastern states as well. Very interesting, and not like what most other people have forecasted for August, so a much different look than what was anticipated. Here is that National Hurricane Center update for the 7-day outlook here. We might have gotten an update. Let me make sure we haven't. We have not. But we do still have this 20% risk here coming from the main development region and heading towards the Caribbean. We'll be watching this closely, but there has been no change. So 20% chance over the next 7 days. We have seen a second threat pop up, though, a 10% chance over the next 48 hours and a 10% chance over the next 7 days. Rather low, obviously, but could increase from here. So we're going to be updating you guys on all of these things daily. So be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the description and pinned comment down below. But also be sure to subscribe, as we do upload every single day, and we'll be keeping you guys up to date with all of these things. Be sure to hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.